Hi, I'm Nick Cramp. I'm a business coach and I specialise in working alongside business leaders of adolescent stage organisations. Now, the condition I want to talk about today is one that I experienced myself when I ran my own businesses, and it's one that I've seen many times in businesses I've worked with over the past 15 years. And that is a little known condition called the success trap. Now, this condition is, as the name suggests, quite confusing, because on one hand, you've got a word success, which we attribute it as a positive word. And at the same time, you've got the word trap, which is generally seen as something to be avoided. Now, what I want to do is, first of all, ask you three questions to see whether you recognize any of this and whether this maybe applies to yourself and your current situation. First of all, does success that you've had not feel as good as you thought it would? When we visualize success, we think that it's going to be a really enjoyable, almost relaxing, cathartic experience. But for a lot of us, it just brings more pressure and more stress, which is confusing. Second question, are you procrastinating more than you used to about decisions to take the business forward? When businesses are in the early phases, a lot of the time decision making is very intrinsic. It's a lot of gut feel and it flows very easily. But there can be a tendency as businesses scale for us to procrastinate more because there's more options available and we have more to lose. Third question, do your personal ambitions exceed your organizational ability? So as you look over your business, if you stand back and detach from it, are you confident that what you've got in place in terms of people, offering and processes is fit for the next level? Yes, it might work today, but are you confident that if you were twice the size you currently are, what you've got in play will actually deliver against your ambitions? If you've answered yes to any of those, the chances are you're in the success trap and you're in the right place, because I'm going to explain a little bit more about it and importantly how to get out of it. So what I want to do today is three things. I want to explain why you're feeling like you're feeling. So why are you frustrated when you have a successful business? Secondly, I want to explore the resistance factors that are keeping the success trap around you. So what do you need to consider if you're trying to escape? And thirdly, I'm going to give you some solutions. So I'm going to help you generate the momentum to reframe, rethink and refocus to enable you to move forward. So first of all, why are you feeling frustrated? I think there's three root causes that I've identified. The first is a growing realization that what got you here won't get you there. Here being your current reality, and there being your aspirational future vision. And it's confusing because obviously the things that have made you successful, logically you would carry on doing more of the same. But at some point in a business life cycle, we need to change track. And I'll come back to that later on. But this is the point, and this is the growing realization that more of the same isn't going to be good enough. Secondly, for most business leaders, there's some underlying fears in play. Now, again, this is not something that's spoken about out loud too often, but for most business leaders, they've got a nagging fear in the back of their mind, which starts to get louder as their business grows. And these fears come in different forms. There's the fear of success, so imposter syndrome. If the business is twice the size, am I good enough to lead it? If I don't lead it, who does? And if someone else leads it, well, what's my role? There's a fear of failure. You know, if we push too far or too much further, will it all fall apart? So the Icarus syndrome, you know, if we get too close to the sun, will that be a problem? And finally, there's a fear of stagnation. Is this it? So that sense that you've reached the maximum level for yourself and it's not really where you expect it to be. So those fears are in play for all of us. And as people are in the success trap, I think the fears just get louder, but they're generally kept internally, which is part of the problem. The third factor in play is in this misalignment, so a paradoxical state where two opposite situations occur simultaneously. And these opposite situations are the external success. So from the outside looking in, the business seems very successful. Turnover's increasing, reputation's increasing, you're getting recognised in awards, everything seems to be going well. But internally, it's swan-like. Everyone's working really hard below the surface just to keep the show on the road. And that sense that that's only going to get worse unless you make some changes. So more growth, whilst it's advantageous and in your mind required, for many people in the organisation might not be a good thing. They might be seeing that new business and new sales is actually part of the problem, not part of the solution. So we've got this misalignment both within yourself, but also within the business. So in terms of the specific challenges that are organisational challenges rather than internal ones, there's three things in play. There's organisational myopia, there's an increased sense of risk aversion, and there's organisational inertia. So let's talk about those in more detail. Myopia simply means that we've got our blinkers on and all we can see is what we've previously done and doing more of the same in the future. So the organisation becomes very narrow in what it considers and doesn't look outside of what's got it to where it's at. So it doesn't look enough for new ideas, new markets, new products, new services. It's so focused on the existing situation, it's all consuming. Everyone's spending time on existing customers, existing challenges, winning new business to hit turnover. There's not enough R&D time. There's no deviation to a better way of working, more profitable products and services, better markets. There's this kind of myopia around just more of the same, more of the same, more of the same. Secondly, we've got in play an increased sense of risk aversion. We tend to get less adventurous as our business scales. When we're a startup or an entrepreneur, risk is part of the deal, and we're quite happy to roll the dice often and go with a lot more gut feel. As the organisation grows, unless we check it, then risk aversion will come in play and we'll become more conservative. There's more people to sign off on every deal. There's more people to be involved in every decision. And we just lose that ability to work from the gut more. We become very conservative. We double check ourselves. We go for the least risk option. And that again brings a sense of the business slowing down because we're not spending enough time outside our comfort zone. We're in meetings with the same people, we're discussing the same issues. There's not new thinking or new ideas bringing to play, and it makes a very conservative organisation. And the final factor is this organisational structural inertia. When we start off, we build most of our businesses, most owner operators build the business around themselves. So they've either got a hierarchical triangle with them at the top and a few direct reports, then a few people below them. Or they've got a hub and spoke model with them in the center and various people reporting into them. But neither of those organizational structures are suitable for the next phase. They're totally adequate for getting you from startup to adolescence. But the problem is the more people that you add to the organization, you become trapped as the decision maker. everything needs to feed through you or through the center of the organization. And again, that just slows everything down. People get frustrated because it takes too long to decide things. And there's no empowerment. There's no leadership from outside of the leadership team. There's no innovation and ideas because the structure is grinding everything to a halt, and more people coming in only adds to that. So those are the three external factors that are in play. And it's not anything you've done wrong. It's just that unless we are aware that those things are in play, we don't address them. And it's an organizational level situational problem that just grows during adolescence. So let's move on to some solutions and talk about three things you can do to break the escape, to make the escape from the success trap, and to add momentum and clarity. Now, the three things I advocate are adopting some guiding principles, onboarding a core mantra, and focusing on 6 essential elements. So the guiding principles are ways of working which are maybe different to what you've done previously, but for me, these are the 3 really consistent central themes that need to be in play to get through this phase. The first one is alignment. This means making sure all stakeholders, which I mean employees, customers, suppliers, shareholders, are focused on the same end goal. The chances are that you've got people on board which aren't aligned with your overall vision and where you want to get to. You might have team members that were suitable in the past but aren't suitable for the future. You may have customers that have served you well, or clients, but aren't really ideal for the next stage. So this alignment principle is very much a case of shedding stuff that doesn't serve you any longer, so you've got space to replace it with better customers, better people, better suppliers, and aligning those people as they come on the future direction rather than the past. The second principle is transparency. As we grow our businesses, the danger is that we keep our cards close to our chest, and we have very few people we speak to about the business and the challenges we're facing and what's in play for us. And what I'm advocating at this stage is that you need to talk openly and honestly with people about the challenges, about the conditions I've just described, about some of the fears we have in play, so that we can find solutions. Now, I'm not advocating talking to everybody about everything, but just putting a hand up and admitting that there are some challenges within the organization, and these are growth challenges, so are okay to have them, means that we can start conversations on what the solutions could be. And you personally will feel a lot better because other people are sharing that concern and can work with you on the solution. The third guiding principle is vulnerability, which leads on from transparency. And that's just admitting sometimes that we don't know what the answer is yet. Admitting that we understand there's a challenge, but we're working on the solution and we need other people's inputs into the solution. As a leader, sometimes we can become too conservative and there's this sense that we need to know the answer. And what I'm advocating is that vulnerability of actually saying sometimes, well, guys, I don't know what's happening at the moment, and we need to work through this together, is part of this rethink and refocus phase where we're trying to find different solutions to the level of challenges we currently have. So the guiding principles, alignment, transparency, and vulnerability are really needed over this next phase to propel you on to a better, more sustainable future. Alongside that, there's one core mantra which I feel you should adopt, and that's better before bigger. What I'm advocating is, rather than focusing on getting bigger, more turnover, more revenue, more customers, etc., why not spend a period focused on getting better? Put a plateau in place where, rather than setting organizational growth targets, set organizational improvement targets. Think about how you could train your people better. Think about how you could bring in better processes and better systems which will enable you to move forward. Think about your customer or client base and how you could or could be working with better customers that are a better fit for you. And this mantra of better before bigger is a freeing, liberating mantra which enables you to focus internally and just to improve the organization. Think about it like the off season in football or any sport. Most sport operates for 8 or 9 months of the year, and they have 3 to 4 months where they focus on improvement. They review what's happened previously. They bring in new players, new tactics, they improve their fitness. But this is a plateau period where we're looking to improve before we go again. And what I'm advocating is businesses and leaders adopt this principle, and that regular points during the business life cycle, we embrace a plateau and we just focus on getting better before we get any bigger. In terms of where to focus, I've narrowed this down to 6 essential elements which I think leadership should focus on over this period. And if these elements are nailed, then it gives you a really strong foundation for moving the business forward. The first one is inspirational leadership. Now, it might sound obvious, but leaders need to inspire others. And the reason I say that is because I observe a lot of leaders spending time as managers. They don't spend enough time in the leadership phase or the leadership zone, and they drop into functional manager mode, where they're on the ground, solving problems, sorting out issues, running meetings. So I'm a strong believer in thinking time, strategic time away from the business to do the leadership and to come up with better solutions and better ways of working and inspire others by operating on the business rather than in the business. Alongside that, the second element is strategic clarification. This is where you spend time reviewing what you've currently got, what currently you're offering, which products to which market, which services, and you clarify it right down. So you get really clear on what you're great at and you focus more time and energy on that. You get clear on what's making you money and what's not making you money, and you get rid of the stuff that's not making you money. As organizations grow, they can become quite bloated in the range of services they offer and the range of clients and customers they try and deal with. And it becomes like a menu at a Chinese restaurant with 101 different options, which is very confusing, both to the people running the restaurant, but also the people trying to order food. What I'm advocating is slimming right down, but become really clear and really focused on what you want to take forward. Let go of some baggage and get strategic clarification. Thirdly, the third element is stakeholder reciprocation. And this is just thinking about the quality of the relationship you have with your various stakeholders and how you can improve that. How can you retain more staff? How can you retain and grow the right customers? Have you got the right suppliers on board? And if you have you a good two-way relationship with them? So for this one, it's a case of thinking about the relationship from their perspective, not from your perspective. What's in it for them? What does this relationship look like, and what could it look like if everything was going to be better? The fourth element is numerical extrapolation. There is so much data available for all of us within our companies these days, it's overwhelming. What I'm advocating is getting really clear on the essential numbers. What are the key drivers across the key areas of the business that you need to focus on and that need to be on a big dashboard in the center of the business, so everyone can understand what those metrics are? And that's part of your job as leadership, is to educate people on what the numbers are and why they're important, but just get the business really clear on the key numbers, not all of the numbers by any means, but what are the key drivers for us that we really need to focus on over the next 3 years, that if we focus on those and improve them, will move us on to the next level. The fifth element is reputational maximization. Most adolescent companies don't really mine their existing customer and client base well enough. They become too obsessed with growth via acquisition, new customers, new clients, rather than really focusing on the existing clients. And that's a mistake, because the existing clients are rich in referral potential, rich upselling potential, and they're the consistent bedrock which is going to underpin your future growth. So we need to get clear on, what our relationship looks like there, and maximize our relationship within the existing client base so they can do some of the selling for us, so that we can really maximize the customer lifetime value. So this really strong internal focus on our existing clients is the fifth element. And the sixth element is operational optimization. As organizations go through adolescence, they can put weight on, unnecessary weight in the center of the organization. Systems and processes that we're onboarded but we don't really use. People that we don't really need any longer. The weight in the middle, the overhead, becomes too big. And what we need to do is slim right down. So what I'm recommending is an organizational diet where we become lean. We get rid of things that no longer serve us, and we tighten everything up. So we really focus on this idea of Kaizen and this leanness, eliminating waste and eliminating unnecessary baggage, so that as we move forward, we've got the maximum profitability within the organization, because we're not wasting money in overheads that we don't really need to. So those are my 6 elements: inspirational leadership, strategic clarification, stakeholder reciprocation, numerical extrapolation, reputational maximization, and operational optimization. Focus on those 6 things, and very soon you'll have the momentum and clarity and confidence to move forward. So in the end, this comes down to you. And I want to leave you with 3 questions to ask yourself. Firstly, if not this, then what? What are you going to do different to move forward? Because the current situation is not where you want to be. If not now, then when? We can always say it's not quite the right time, and we just need another quarter, we just need a few more months, we just need a few more sales. But deep down, we know that we probably need to do something major, transformational, right now. And finally, if not you, then who? In the end, this is your organization. You're the ultimate leader. So this falls on you. This is not a delegatable responsibility. So I hope you found that interesting. And if you want more assistance with any of this, then I'm around for some questions. I can talk through anything you'd like me to clarify. Thanks for listening.